From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Welcome to Open Line tonight. Thank you so much for being with us. We have a very important topic to discuss tonight, and I'm glad that you can be here with us. And hopefully give us a phone call, too, if this is something that touches your heart. You've experienced domestic violence. That is our topic. Or you have questions about where you can go to get help. Tonight is the night to call Open Line. Let me give you that number, 615-737-PLUS. That's 615-737-7587. And I have Robin Kimbrough with me, and a local attorney, also with the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We are rounding it out, but this is a topic that needs attention 365 days a year, and we just need to grow the awareness for it.
Right.
Why does this touch your heart?
I'm very passionate about this issue because I think it has such a huge impact on women and children. And even though breast cancer affects men, we still say it's a women's issue, because mostly women are impacted by breast cancer, and this is the same as domestic violence. Even though men are victims of domestic violence as well, it has a greater impact on women.
In fact, 85% of victims, 85% are women.
You're exactly right, and the statistics show that that now that Tennessee is ranked number 6 in the nation of women who are murdered by their intimate partners.
Wait, say that again. Tennessee is ranked 6th in the nation
of women murdered by their intimate partners, and Tennessee has always, since I have been involved in this work for the past 10 years, been in the top 10. So I think this is a very important topic. I think that it has an impact on families, it has an impact on children, it has an impact on medical issues. It is a public health issue, I think, and so that's why I'm really passionate about it, and I think it can be prevented. I think if more people knew about it, how to be cognizant of it, conscientious of it, and be more equipped to help those who they know are in this type of situation. So that's why I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah, and the data says that 1 in 3 women, roughly 1 in 3, will experience domestic violence at some point in their life. So if you think about your workplace, I'll think about the newsroom here at News Channel 5. Think how many women that is. 1 in 3. So we do have to open our eyes and be much more aware. And if we are that one, we hopefully can find the place to reach out to. And when we talk about Tennessee being number 6 when it comes to women being killed or injured because of domestic violence, number 6 in the nation, why is that? Are there not enough resources out there?
Well, I think on one hand, someone could say that number is really a bad number. But you have to realize that when there is more awareness about domestic violence and people are talking about it, people are deciding to leave these relationships. And when a victim chooses to leave a bad relationship, that is the most dangerous time of the situation. That is the time where the batterer wants to ante up the violence,
lash out,
and so it could be a result of more victims trying to leave relationships, and as a result, batterers are killing victims. Do we need to look at this number? Absolutely. We need to do more awareness about domestic violence. We need additional education on the good laws that we already have to hold batterers accountable, and we also need to change societal norms as how we look at victims who are victimized. Sometimes we want to hold the victim accountable for the battering behavior when we should hold the batterer accountable. So I think what we need to do to improve Tennessee's position on domestic violence is to rethink victim safety should come first and batter accountability. So I think if those things are at the forefront of the minds of the public, of judges, police officers who make arrests, I think we're going to see some improvement in the safety of Tennesseans.
And that's what we want. Number 1 goal right there. We do have a caller on the line. We have Lucy on the line joining us tonight. Lucy, thank you for being with us. What can you add tonight?
Yeah, I want to ask a question, and then I want to make a comment.
Okay.
My question is, for several years I heard this, the number one cause of pregnant women in Tennessee is domestic violence. Is that true still?
That is true. That is true. A woman who is pregnant is most likely to get victimized while she is pregnant.
So that's still the number one cause of pregnant women's death in Tennessee, from what I understand.
I'm not sure about that statistic, but I will say that the statistics show that a woman who is pregnant is more vulnerable to being a victim of domestic violence.
Well, I heard that for several years in Tennessee. The last time I heard it mentioned publicly by an official was about 3 years ago. I was just checking because I like telling people that, to ask them, do you know what the number one cause of death for pregnant women is? And when I tell people it's domestic violence, they're floored. They have no idea, you know, how bad this is. They really have no clue. All right, and you know, if you can find out if that's still the number one cause.
Well, Lucy, I have some information for you right now.
Publicize that more and bring, because I think it really brings it home to people. Okay, and here's the other statement I like to make. I think that it ought to be made a law that if you're a domestic offender and you're in a gang or you're involved in some sort of criminal activity, racketeering or whatever it may be, I don't think you should be able to exchange information and what do they call it, snitch on, you know, your buddies and everything in order to be released out of jail, because I've seen this happen time and time again where I've talked to women who thought their perpetrators were going to go away for jail for a while and they snitched on somebody and they got let off at the front door. So I think that ought to be made into law that you cannot bargain with these people when they're domestic violators, because when they go home and they have children, I've seen this too. These kids witness, you know, their mom being abused, and it really becomes ingrained into them like, you know, this is just non-stoppable. Yeah. And violence is a part of my life. And, you know, and kids mimic a lot of what they see. But I really think they should be made into law to not allow cops or prosecutors or anybody to exchange that kind of information, to snitch bargain, you know, in order for them to get released or reduced terms or anything like that. I think it ought to be put on the books. From what I understand, some officials use this when they go for promotion too. So that's all I want to say. This is a hot issue with me. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucy. Thank you for your passion on this. And she brings up some great points. I do want to point out, I did find a statistic for the United States, not necessarily Tennessee, but says homicide is a leading cause of traumatic death for pregnant and postpartum women in the United States, accounting for 31% of maternal injury deaths. So sad, and you understand why. Emotions are high, life is changing, things can be very stressful during pregnancy and right afterwards for everybody involved.
Well, I won't say it that way. What I will say is that the fact that the woman is pregnant creates a vulnerable situation for the woman, because domestic violence is about power and control. It's not about anger. It's not about emotions getting out of control. It's about someone who wants to use different methods of violence to take advantage of this person. So with this woman being pregnant, she is more vulnerable, and he is, or the husband or the intimate partner wants to take more control of this person. So we can't really lay domestic violence on because there's emotions and stressors surrounding pregnancy, but we can talk about that somebody wants to take control over another person and they're using violence to do it. And so what happens is, probably before this person became pregnant, they were the batterer was probably already violent toward the person. Maybe not using physical violence, but using verbal abuse, economic control, making threats about the baby or about being pregnant, or maybe saying that you're getting pregnant just to hurt me, just insulting this person and tearing this person down, and as a result, the person becomes pregnant, the person feels like they're losing control. control, and so they ante up the violence, and then it turns physical, and then it turns lethal.
And what a vulnerable and sad time, stressful time to be part of all that. Robin, stay right where you are. We have so much to talk about as we pick apart this issue of domestic violence and trying to raise awareness for what's happening sometimes right next door. So stay with us on Open Line.